We've got some breaking news here on CBS Sports HQ from the NFL, which has informed both the Bills and Bengals that Monday night's game will not be resumed this week. The league adding no decision has been made on a possible resumption of that game at a later date. No changes have been made to the Week 18 schedule. The game was postponed when Buffalo safety Damar Hamlin suffering cardiac arrest on the field and collapsed. Bills releasing a statement saying Hamlin remains in critical condition and intensive care in a unit there at the University of Cincinnati Medical Center. You see there through the statement from the league there, we will continue to provide additional information as it becomes available there at the very end. Back here with Charles Davis and Pete Prisco. Gentlemen, of course, you were on with Chris Hassel extensively having this conversation. Now that we do have some new information here, I'm curious to get your thoughts. Pete, I'll start with you.
Well, until you know the status of your teammate, I don't think the Buffalo Bills could go out there and actually play a football game. I just don't. I think their minds wouldn't be into it, and all they would be thinking about is, will their teammate make it? Will he be functional in life? I mean, there's a lot of questions out there about this, and so how can you go out and play a football game when you don't know the status of your teammate? So I understand why they did this, and it makes sense. You can't play this game right now, or you can't play it. Who knows? I mean, how are you going to reschedule it, by the way, if you wanted to? It's too late in the week. They're already getting ready for Week 18, and so I think this is going to be a tough way to work around this. I don't know how exactly they would work around it, but right now I think the right decision is not to play it this week.
No, I agree totally, and I never expected them to play. Once I heard Buffalo as a team, and if I have this correct, some of the players were able to get to the hospital to check in, and then they all get on the team the plane collectively and flew back to Buffalo. We're not playing this game. Plus, even if they had stayed and the league had asked them, they weren't going to play this game. The league wasn't going to do that. So what strikes me is this: if they're going to go ahead and play Week 18, because Pete's right, we're not in the middle of the season where you can change open weeks and find a way to get this game in. We're out of time that way unless you're pushing everything. It doesn't seem like they're inclined to do that. So the next thing we have to find out is, how will the league count this game in terms of record, seeding, percentages, all those things that come into play? Because last night was supposed to head us towards, where's Buffalo in terms of the number one seed? Where's Cincinnati in terms of the number one seed? Where's Cincinnati in terms of an AFC North title? Do they have to play Baltimore for it in Week 18? Those questions remain unanswered until we find out how the league is going to count this in terms of record. Do they do it? How are they going to do it? What does that mean for Week 18 in order to set playoff seeding, if indeed that's the right direction we're going?
So I know we cycled through that statement rather quickly. Let me just read one of the more interesting points here quickly, guys. After speaking with both teams and the NFLPA leadership, NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell informed the clubs today that, again, that Bills-Bengals game will not be resumed this week. There it is in its entirety. Guys, we were talking about this off air, again, as it all pertains to what Charles had mentioned. How do you characterize this game? Pete, is there language on what has to be determined, because a no contest, a tie, I mean, it has to be determined at some point, given what we just talked about, maybe not pushing all these Week 18 games back, sort of a dark week here.
Well, I mean, you could push games out a week and, you know, not have the bye week in between the Super Bowl and the championship games. I think that's one possibility. It doesn't sound like they're considering that if they're going to play Week 18. So, I mean, that is also another possibility, to push the wild card games out and play that Bengals game a week later. But I just don't know the mechanism for how that works. So I don't know. This is, you know, uncharted territory. And I think by rules and the bylaws of the NFL, the commissioner can't just say you're not playing the game. And so I think the game ultimately they'd like to play the game somehow, but I just don't know how you can figure this out and try and get this game played. So I don't know what they're going to do, but pushing out, you know, the weeks, if you had to, or a week to kind of fill in that gap between the conference championship games and the Super Bowl, that would be possible.
And for me, what I'm taking away from the statement is, welcome to 2023. After speaking with both teams where they weighed in, and nowadays what the players say does matter. They will have a voice. We saw that voice exercised on Monday night. No chance that game was going to be played, whether anyone was talking about it or not. The players were not going to permit that because they cared about their fallen teammate and fallen brother. That was the bottom line. The league understands that. I think the league respects that now, and that's what I take away from it. 2023, the players have a bigger voice than they've ever had, and they exercise it at the proper times.
Once again, we say thank you to Pete Prisco and Charles Davis. Gentlemen, thank you again for sticking around, hanging around for this breaking news. Digesting this statement one more time, and you can take your time in reading it. Also, Roger Goodell sending out a memo to the clubs regarding Bills safety Damar Hamlin, in a separate one that's not shown here. But again, that is the update that we have on that Bills-Bengals game and that Week 18 schedule as now to go as planned.